Okay. Well, I will log into YouTube Live.
I will provide you a link in a second.
Yes. The excitement. And accidentally not log in as the incomparable, which would probably be bad.
All right. And of course, if anyone joins the stream now, it'll be there. I put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, try not to do that. Just because I think that would kick me out.
Okay, I can see myself and hear myself, which is not good. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Right, I think we have this.
Cool. I'll drop a link in the incomparable live stream Discord. Why not?
3 people are watching, one of which is me.
One of which is me.
Well, that means there's one person who's not us.
All right. I think I have put this everywhere that anyone would care.
If people watch, they watch. And if they do not.
That's true. I haven't built Legos in a long time, so it's good to be back in, a Lego state of mind.
We have a viewer, Susan. There we go.
We also have a potential additional guest.
Ooh, surprise guest.
Okay, I think I put it in the places that I'm going to put it, and now I need to zoom over here with my
Aha.
camera and microphone.
I kind of suspected who the mystery guest might be.
Hello, mystery guest.
I'm in your Zoom building your Legos.
Yeah, you are. How's it going?
If you build the Legos, it would be helpful.
Yeah.
That's me. I am chaotic helpful is my alignment.
Is that a 6th edition thing?
Yeah, I can't say too much.
I think they're moving in the other direction, though. They're moving away from alignment. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of D&D stuff. Is they're trying to like, I don't know. It was interesting. I was actually watching.
It'll just be just pretend at the end eventually.
Yeah, make it up. Just use your.
How are they going to sell? How do they package that? Is the
I was just watching a link the video. So they release new videos every time they do the responses to their playtest stuff. So this was the most recent. They were talking about all the stuff that had tested well and the stuff that had not tested as well, and what stuff they're still working on and what revisions they were making. And I thought it was interesting. They were talking about one of the big things that they had gotten a lot of feedback on that people were unhappy about were things that made classes less distinct from one another. I think in the most recent playtest.
Isn't that familiar to 4th edition? Sorry for that. This will not all be Dungeons and Dragons revision talk, but it is right now.
Or will it?
You don't know.
We don't know.
You're not the boss, probably. But it was for example, I think they were going for one of the things they were testing was rather than every class having a spell list, it was uber large spell list. So there was an arcane spell list and a divine spell list and a primal spell list, and those were shared among the classes that sort of fit in those categories, but they would all have access to the same spell list. And people are like, no, we don't like that. We like each class to have its own distinct spell list thing. They're like, all right, fine, we'll go back to doing that. So I enjoy that.
I mean, never ask the general public for opinions.
That's literally all they do, James.
Yeah, that's literally it's different than software engineering. That's the challenge there. So
yeah, I know they had an interesting standpoint, which they were talking about. I think they said anything below 70% on their satisfaction rating was okay, we need to work on that. But the stuff that's 85, it's that's pretty good, right? You pleased 8.5 out of 10 people, and that half guy is always tough to get.
I used to spend a lot of time working with faculty around their teaching evaluations, and perhaps some of you remember doing teaching evaluations a million years ago. They're a very fraught thing. At some schools, they don't matter at all. In some schools, they matter a lot. And there's all kinds of research about how flawed they are. But I definitely work with some faculty who were always trying to get to 100%. And it was like, that's just not going to happen.
There's literally one way to do that, and that is to give everybody in your class $20.
I mean, I think even then you will probably get one person who will
One
say, who will,
agent of chaos.
You'll say,
one agent of
I-
chaos who will
I
be-
demand
who-
$40.
Yeah, I should have gotten $40, or
Or
I'm
I can't
enraged that-
believe that you would pay me to
Yes.
get yes.
or I cannot be bought.
Idealists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
So
guys.
yeah. Dan, it's been a while. I don't think I've seen you in person in quite a while. I'm not sure if that's right.
What
But
have you?
Have I?
And
I
you
don't
just
know.
didn't know it.
Have I seen you in
disguised.
person since seeing you in Portland? Is a starting question.
Oh, that's a good question.
Spoiler. I saw
maybe.
Dan in Portland, Oregon, not Portland, Maine. Also, spoiler, James Thompson was also there.
James was also present.
James,
Tony,
was
you've been to
also
Portland,
present.
Maine. Portland, Maine is also quite nice.
I have been to Portland, Maine. I have been to their. There was at the time. This was several years ago. The International Cryptozoology Museum is in
Oh,
Portland,
yeah.
Maine.
Yep.
So I went on a day trip to Portland, Maine. We were there off season. I think we were there like right, but it was probably like February. So it was like maybe it was late February, early March. It was like not skiing season
Hmm.
and definitely not like vacation season. So it was a little sleepy and a lot of stuff was closed. But I thought it was like a lovely little small town. And, I went to a nice restaurant and had some fish and chips. I would go again, is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
But you did not answer the question of
I don't
where,
remember.
where
I don't
have you
think.
been?
Where have
So,
I been?
Where have
I
you
was
explained
away.
yourself?
I was off on vacation for
Oh.
about 10 days.
Nice.
And what do you call Portland? Was that work?
That was
That,
work.
that was a
strictly
work trip,
business.
clearly. Yeah. If you ask my accountant, it was a work trip.
Yeah, but I think if you ask the border guard who
Mhm.
said, "Why are you here?" I did not say this is a work trip.
Good news. Going to
Yeah, we
Portland from us, we
encountered-
don't have border guards.
We don't have those.
You
Oh.
should.
Probably true. The closest you get is if you drive, I believe maybe if you fly into California too, sometimes they
Oh, the
want to know
fruit.
about fruit.
Fruit and
that you
vegetable
brought.
guys.
So there are places
Yeah.
where you have to stop and be like, I don't have any fruit. Seriously, guys.
The border people were very interested in whether we had sandwiches.
Oh,
Mm.
Were they hungry?
Yeah, I was gonna say, were you there at like 11:45 or something? And they,
Well,
they were peckish.
I guess when I said no to the question of whether we had any sandwiches, I should have registered whether they looked disappointed.
she said
mm.
maybe.
What kind of sandwich do you like?
So for
Yeah.
folks who haven't joined us on these before, this is Tony and James and sometimes Dan Morin doing just a chill chat while Tony builds Legos. I am working on the Lion Knights Castle Lego set that I was given as a gift like in October. This is like I'm entering hour 10 of the build.
Wow.
The not building for speed because I'm doing nothing on the internet and James is here chatting with me. But it's a very elaborate castle build. This is like one half of it here. It's a very big set. So that's just to establish what is going on the
How
stream.
many bags remain?
I think I don't know. I just fished bags 20 and 21 out of the big giant box. My guess is there might be like 10 more bags. So I think I'm a solid
Okay.
2/3 of the way through. I
We-
mean, it's
we-
still this. So there's half of it behind my head here. That's like half of the castle. And then this is, I feel like, not quite yet. This has a ways to go to be 50% of a castle.
So basically, we will be beyond the original year. Quite.
I bet I
easily.
could finish it before. Well, I'd have to speed up my rate because I guess I probably have about 5 more hours of building. Can I finish it before it came into my house? Maybe. Can I finish it before a year has expired since it came into my house? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't built Legos in a while. I had a busy July. I did some travel. I don't know. I don't know what else I do with my life, but I was probably doing that, whatever that was.
I think you were also running about 15 different games of
There
D&D
was a lot of
simultaneously.
D&D in the last month. There was kind of a weird overlap of I ran an in-person session in Portland, which was exciting. I think there was a weird overlap where Curse of Strahd is going, though that may actually wrap up soon, which is bittersweet.
Dun, dun, dun.
I started a Candlekeep adventure, and we've been playing Keys from the Golden Vault. So yeah, there was like a weird lots of D&D at the same time kind of
Yeah, I was
thing.
involved in at least 3 of them, so
and
it
yeah, that's
was-
too much. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's
Maybe-
weird chronology things going on where I
Well,
was
that's your
playing.
fault.
Well, yes, it is, but it's like
James,
if
nobody
I
likes a person who plays too many D&D campaigns.
Well, the
that's
key
all I'm
you
gonna
got to
say.
bring. I mean, Dan plays in a lot of D&D campaigns, but Dan brings different characters to them. So
I brought a different one to the last one.
all right, fair enough.
But-
I think I ran D&D for Dan like 24 hours ago. I don't remember.
Yep, accurate.
Accurate.
Yeah. Yes, that was an interesting experience playing in person.
Yeah, James, that
D&D.
was your first in-person D&D in several decades, right?
At least 3.
And Dan's first in probably a little while since the pandemic.
Pandemic, yeah.
Yeah, how was it?
It was good. I liked when we started to plan it. It's just for fun. We're not going to record it. It's just going to be, just us sitting around having a game of D&D.
Story totally checks out.
And then there was like 18 microphones appeared, and then a
Yeah,
video
there was-
camera.
Yeah. So the plan was we were going to be in Portland, and it was basically kind of just this was an intended to be 10th anniversary meetup of Incomparable Hosts that got delayed by the pandemic. So I guess it was a like 13th anniversary.
Lucky for
meetup.
some.
Yeah. And we were like, there was a variety of things that people were going to do. We knew there was probably going to be some game show recording. There was going to be some recording in person of podcasts that normally would have happened like around that time anyway, and they were just going to take advantage of being in person. But at first it was like we should just play D&D for fun, and then there was like about 5 different conversations, and I tried to only be in 3 of them about whether it should be recorded or not, and then how should it be recorded, and and the end result was it was recorded both with video and audio.
So
Bec-
close.
because
so
nerds.
close to
Because nerds, because nerds. So-
With 360 degree
with 360 all the degrees of video,
video. Yes.
which probably unnecessary, but I think I'm mostly I don't know how good the audio and video quality came out, but I think I mostly kind of just didn't focus on the fact that it was being video recorded, and just tried to run D&D the way I would normally run D&D, though I had not run in-person D&D for quite a while. And it's mainly the challenging thing for me about in-person D&D when you're the dungeon master is there's a lot of stuff to manage.
yeah.
There's minis and maps, and I try to print as much as I can so that I don't need to have a computer open, though there are times when it's really useful to be like, I can just look up this spell, and that's certainly great. But I don't like having a device because it's potentially distracting / it's another I don't even I think I'm somewhat unusual. I try not to use a DM screen as much as I can because I feel like it's a weird barrier between me and the players that I guess I don't want kind of ergonomically. But literally using my DM screen right now here as a backstop for my Lego building to keep Legos
as God intended.
mainly to keep Legos from falling off the back of this desk and being irrecoverable. So
Given that I didn't have my full D&D thing, I forgot several of the key abilities of my character, which was spoilers, we weren't doing particularly well. Some of that my fault.
Well, if you all die, it just becomes non-canon, and we didn't finish the adventure, which then raises the question of do we ever go back to that?
We ever return.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
is, since
Oh.
my character is playing in an earlier game, I cannot die, is
Well,
my belief.
It's good
You
to
got
have
some real Chris Pike energy going on
it's
there.
good
I-
to have some beliefs.
I was thinking Fast and the Furious.
Let me point out, James, this is an adventure that occurs in a world where you can be resurrected. So
Yeah.
it's not that you can't die.
Well, to whichever necromancer brings me back, I have a debt.
I think the debt is at least 1,000 gold pieces.
I've probably
That's good.
caught
That
that.
makes sense.
I
Well,
haven't
I just
spent
think-
any money. We haven't gone shopping. There's very little shopping in the Candlekeep stuff because we're basically in a library town. All you can buy is books.
There's a shop.
Stupid books. Who likes those?
Yeah, but the shop has got books in
Well, I don't know what you want, James.
it. Probably it has bookmarks and tote bags, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
Powell's.
actually, I mean, it could be like one of those modern bookstores that is like 50% not books. So
We did go to Powell's World of Books.
yeah,
which
it sure was a
That's true.
bookstore.
Saw a lot of books.
Yeah. And it was like, how will we ever find anybody in this giant city block of a bookstore?
Turns out
They're
it's
all in the science fiction and fantasy section.
literally one section of a giant bookstore.
All looking for books of people we know.
That's
Nerd's
also
gonna
true.
nerd.
I only have one of my books.
And now none, because I think Erica.
Oh, that's right. I think Erica bought it. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, I mean, then they will see that sale has occurred. And
Yes, that's right. And hopefully they will learn from their mistakes.
yes, I had my Kobo was saying, you should read The Dog Sitter Detective. It's only 99 pence today.
Oh,
If you were a real fan, you'd pay more.
I did pay more, that's the thing. So, but just on a different story.
Aha, sucker.
I'm building a tree, I think.
But there's no way to know for sure.
It's a tree or
Let me tell you,
Or a
black Legos
buttress
on a black.
some
I
kind?
think it's a tree because it's this long column of black circular stuff, and I think it's gonna connect onto this little guy over here on the side. Yeah, it does. I think this is a tree. It looks organic-y.
Tree like.
Yeah.
some kind of ent, or I don't know if they have those in the Castle universe.
I don't
We're
know how much
raising some
fantasy
serious
stuff- yeah,
canon
it's-
problems.
I mean, there's wizards in the
That's true.
Castle stuff, so you know, presumably somebody's animated a tree or.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems I don't know if I got that quite right. It feels like it maybe doesn't quite edge up right, but it's okay. Good enough for my work.
It's a happy little tree.
So
Reference
James,
acknowledged. Yes.
I know that you have been to a place. I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about it.
So I have been. I actually have the list of the official talking points that I'm allowed
Oh.
to talk about.
Also, if you've already talked about it a ton and do not have any interest in talking about it, that's fine too.
No, I can
Oh.
talk about it. I went down to London because Apple was running developer kitchens for the Apple Vision Pro AR VR strap thing to your face computer.
Mhm.
They need a better term.
Yes.
Spatial computing, James. I think that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and I have spatial computing. But yeah, we were basically I cannot say very much, it has to be said, but I did have like
You've been briefed.
Well, not just briefed. I had can I say that? I think I can say that. I had
Oh.
6 hours of playing with the thing and running
Oh,
my
okay.
software on it. And what was exciting, aside from the things that I cannot talk about, is that Apple is in Battersea Power Station, which is this. If you know the Pink Floyd album Animals, I think the one with Battersea Power Station and
Yes.
the pig flying over the top of it.
Mm.
That power station's been derelict for like 30 something years, and I don't know if Apple bought the entire thing, but it sure feels like Apple bought the entire thing.
Well, I mean, knowing Apple, would they just buy part of it? Really?
Well, I mean, it's got a shopping center in it now, and they've kind of developed around
Mhm.
the area, and it's quite nice. But a quite sizable chunk of the middle of it seems to be Apple's London headquarters now. And I think I can say that the staircases inside are the same staircases that I have seen around Apple Park. So this isn't just like we bought this thing. I think it was built specially for
We
them.
have designed it within to match our corporate aesthetic.
Yes. I don't know. It was a fun little trip. I managed to see a number of people while I was down there as well.
How big a trip is going to London from where you are? Is that
It's
like
it's an hour on the
that's-
plane,
Yeah, okay.
Do
but
you plane or do you train?
Well, normally I would train because like it's 4 hours on the train and the train is much more pleasant. Doesn't have like having to go through Heathrow and all that sort of stuff and takes you into the center of London. But there's a lot of train strikes at the moment, and I was not prepared to gamble on that. So I took the plane down. And the thing is, you get into Heathrow and then you're an hour away from anything actually interesting in London. So it's an hour to fly down and then an hour to go from Heathrow to my
Right.
hotel.
So Dan, what's our American equivalent? Like that feels a little
Like
bit further.
like LaGuardia or something, maybe.
I don't know. Do people fly from Boston to LaGuardia? I assume you can. It just feels business people must, right?
You could fly
fancy people.
I think you could fly from I flew down a bunch when my now wife lived in Washington D.C. I flew down there a bunch, and if you fly into, I'm going to call it National, even though it's technically Reagan, because in my head it's always National. That's a very nice airport that's very easy to get into. It's really like right across the river, basically, and you just hop right on the metro. But if you fly into Dulles, which is way outside the city, it is similarly like from here, it would be about an hour and a half flight. It's about an 8-hour train ride or so, maybe a little less. And if you fly into Dulles, then it's super far. It's like 45 minutes easily to, in a car or by, I think there is a train that runs out there now. But it's not like it's not in DC. It's far away.
It is that thing where they tell you it's an airport for DC, but it's like it's in the approximate area.
Is it even in DC or is it in?
It almost certainly
in
is not in DC.
Yeah, it's in Virginia.
We had an airport like that. It was called Glasgow Prestwick, which is not in Glasgow at all, and is like several hours away from Glasgow, but it was still branded as an airport related to us.
I've always been fascinated by London because it has 5 airports.
I flew into Heathrow and I flew out of City just because of the way the flights worked out.
I'm trying to remember. I think I've flown into at least 3 of them. Heathrow. I think I've flown in or out of Luton at some point.
You're making some of these up, Dan.
And then Gatwick.
All right, that sounds British, so I'll let that one pass.
I was Stansted is the other one too. I think so. I don't. They go to like there were various places. I want to say like when I lived in Edinburgh, like the cheap airline would fly through like Luton or something because it was just.
I think it's Luton, but
is it Luton? I had always heard it pronounced Luton, but
I don't know because it's not my. I mean, I live in Scotland.
Yeah.
What do I know about these pronunciations? But
not like Scotland, where everything is pronounced very logically and reasonably.
Yes, completely, and just as it's written. But yeah, City was actually quite a pleasant little airport, and it's after having gone through Heathrow twice in the last month. I do not like Heathrow at all.
Heathrow's like going through like I don't know O'Hare or JFK or Newark, maybe like.
Well, Heathrow has so many terminals, and if you're in the wrong one, you've got like, you've got to get on a train to get to the other bit.
It's like when I flew through Dallas recently, and we took my kid to the play area, which was the next terminal over, and it was like a 15-minute tram ride.
Yeah.
By the time we got there and like scarfed down lunch, we had to turn around and go back to catch our flight.
Yeah. We flew business class when we came out to Portland because our bodies are old and just not capable of international air travel anymore. And that meant that we had access to the Heathrow lounge for there's like multiple lounges. There's a lounge.
The lounge system is so my wife is a big like for a while was into the lounge game because when she was a management consultant for a long time, so she flew every week. And so she had like figured it out, and in her opinion, it's gotten much worse because everybody keeps changing. Like for a while, you could get access with like your credit card or with a third party pass, and now that's been kind of devalued because a lot of the other places are like doing their own lounges, like the individual like airlines, and even some credit cards are doing like literally like I think there's like a Chase Sapphire lounge in some places. So it's not as good as it used to be because there's like everybody wants a piece of it instead of it being this like added amenity.
Yeah, and like the Heathrow one, there's like a special lounge for your first class passengers, so they don't have to
Mhm.
mix with the
With a rabble. Yeah.
rabble.
I've been
But
in some
you-
lounges and they're very nice. It's very pleasant to spend time in a lounge as opposed to out
Yeah,
in
I mean,
just a terminal.
it's nice, but like the Heathrow stuff was so busy, so there was very hard to get a seat or whatever. But on the other hand, free ice cream.
Free food. Yeah. Free food is, I mean, free.
Yeah,
Free
yeah,
that
You
you're
have paid, you have paid
you
for
have-
this.
that you paid exit or
Like,
orbit amount for.
The
Yeah.
the amount of extra money I paid for the flight could have bought a lot of ice cream.
Yeah,
It's
no,
true.
but it is funny how much that like pleasure that brings. Ooh, free ice cream. Like I know it's not free. I know we paid for it, but it feels free.
Well, no, what it feels like is if I don't eat this ice cream,
Oh
I
yeah,
am,
oh, you wasted your money.
I am just giving money to BA.
Yeah.
So I will go in and I will fill my pockets with croissants or whatever it is.
I was glad you're not filling your pockets with ice cream. That feels.
Wait, try
Um,
that. You put the ice cream in the croissants, and then you put the croissants in your pocket, and then it like it absorbs it, so it's nice.
that would-
Oh God,
Um,
I have to fly. I just made a trip plan for November, and Tony,
Hmm?
I've learned nothing.
Oh,
Flying a red eye back because it was the only option.
Dan, we just had this talk about how that was horrible.
Okay, I paid more for a better seat though on the way back. 'Cause
Okay,
I learned that lesson at least was
Because yeah, Dan and I
if I'm
flew
flying
a red
back-
eye overnight back from
and that was
Portland. I didn't sleep at
awful.
all.
I didn't
Or
either. I mean-
I think I may have phased in and out of consciousness, but I wouldn't call it sleep in the traditional sense.
what I did learn was we were flying United, I believe.
Yeah,
And the seats there were really bad.
they were
'cause,
not great.
Like my knees were like up against
They
the
were
back of the seat
pretty-
in front of me the whole time.
Pretty compact.
JetBlue has better seats even in their standard, but I upped for like the extra room one with like another 4 or 5 inches of leg room just because if I want any chance.
Dan is
I'm
a very
passing
tall
out.
person, just so everyone knows.
You can't tell from just
From your
Yes,
voice,
that-
the timbre
that
of your
was-
voice.
that was one of the interesting things of meeting some people for the first time is a lot of people were taller than I thought.
on average, I think I did want to calculate at some point that in terms of the ratio of height to podcast length, I think clockwise has the best because Micah is also very tall.
That was
So-
the main surprise. Micah
Micah
in my head was kind of like fun size, and he was a lot taller.
Yeah, he's a tall fella.
Um, and yeah, I think I had my little pod on the plane back, which was very nice. It was basically like a cubicle.
You're a
I had
pod
a-
person now. It's understand. We got it.
I had a door. I could close
Oh,
the
wow.
door. I mean,
They don't have that on domestic flights in the US. I don't think.
Not
but
most
you-
flights, because why would you, right? You're
Yeah.
not going maybe on some of the cross country flights, but that's about
Mhm.
it.
yeah, I mean, this was like a 10-hour flight, so it's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
long. That's a long flight.
and the thing would lie flat in your little pod.
Mhm.
So
Do
I'm
you
very
find
not.
that? Can you sleep in that?
I had the experience of like I read a bit and then I had a meal and then I closed my eyes and then there was like an hour to go of the flight and
Mm.
somehow I had slept. Possibly the
That's
meal
cool.
was laced with some sedative.
That's what you're paying for with the business class.
I would pay
Yes.
for that.
I mean, I genuinely yes.
It's the Mr. T deal, is what it
Yes.
is.
Mm.
It's one of the options when you select your meal.
Yeah. Would
It's,
you like
you
to
know,
be
the-
injected with a hypodermic? Just you won't feel a thing. You'll be like
Yes.
leaning over to eat your food, and then like
I need that at home. So-
arrangements could probably be made, but
yeah.
I-
No,
I
I
don't
just
know.
that was always like in The Expanse when they're going
When
when
you
they're
need
going
the
to do a
juice.
bunch of G's and they do something that just like they feel the things like pulse through them and it's like yeah I want that just like I'm ready to go to sleep. I just want a thing to I want to just feel something jab into my neck and then wake up the next morning.
I think in
Um,
that case, it's not to put you to sleep; it's to actually like
I-
make sure you don't have a stroke. But yes,
Well, I'll
don't
take it.
get that.
Look,
I mean, that would
just
be
as-
helpful too.
Dan, I just assume they could put a variety of things in there, like peanut butter.
Coffee, yeah.
yeah, like yeah. I just That is like the one dystopian hellscape thing I want. It's just having chemicals slammed into my neck.
Just
Um,
injections. Yeah, straight up
just-
injection.
Um,
Uh,
yeah.
Have you ever? This is an open question.
Okay.
Listeners, chime in. No. Have you ever slept on a train?
Yes.
I don't.
And
think
how do you
so.
find sleeping on a train versus sleeping on a plane?
I mean, both of them are weirdly unnatural. Because like your body is aware at some level that you are hurtling through space and time.
I used to love sleeping in the car when I was a kid, right? And like
Oh yeah, I would
parents
do
were
that.
driving, right? You pass right out, and like my kid falls asleep in the car. But somehow that was comforting because I guess you maybe it's a sausage situation of knowing how the sausage is made. And it's like when you're a kid, you're just like, yeah, I'm in a car, it's fine. This is very soothing. And now you're an adult, you're like, we could die at any minute.
If I close my eyes,
if I
a
close my
truck
eyes,
will
might be the
drive to-
last thing I see.
I mean, that not recommended when you're driving. But
True. Well, that part definitely not.
I mean, I've done the sleeper down to London, and that's usually and back up, and it's pretty nice because as if you're traveling two people, because then you get a room to yourself. Otherwise, you
so-
get assigned a random
This is a
companion.
relevant to a question for me. So I've taken a sleeper, but it was a long time ago. I did from Paris to Berlin to Paris, actually. And I thought it was mostly pretty pleasant. I have more recently than that done sleeper trains in India. Those were less restful, I found. They went back and like, there's a lot of like, waving back and like, there's a lot of play in those tracks. And I found it very hard to sleep.
I don't want to categorize the Indian railway system versus the British railway system in any way, but all the stuff that I've seen
because it was probably created by the British originally.
we don't speak of such things. But I think everything in media that I've seen of the Indian railway system suggests that it is a more fraught experience.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on what you pay for and what's available because there are different levels of stuff. And it's not bad, but it's like I remember it being very like a lot of back and forth, and particularly some of the routes I was taking, and they were not very restful. So
a little more roller coastery.
Yeah. And there were a lot of people, like we didn't have a private car. We had like a car with like, I think it was me and my wife and one of our friends and then some other people. And so, and you stop a lot and people get in and out and whatever. But yeah, I mean, and again, I was much older than I was when I took the one through Europe. But I ask mainly because we are tentatively planning to come to the UK next year. And
would this be in August 2024?
It would be, maybe late July, early August, some would say.
Mm-hmm.
And as part of that, we may be in London. We have some friends to visit in that area. And then we'll probably come up to Scotland for an event or two. I don't know why I'm being coy about this. Worldcon, the science fiction convention, is in Glasgow.
Oh, Dan, are you putting together a tiny little small scale convention that's only opened by invite to people you know? No,
I think that's what you call
a very
heist.
large event.
And so we thought, oh well, I mean, we could fly into London and then take the train up, and a sleeper train with my wife and our kid would probably be a fun experience. Fun experience. I don't know.
I think your kid is probably too young to like appreciate the full. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to.
It's fine.
Malign your child, but like I think there's a certain minimum age for you to be excited about being on a train.
I think it's like,
well, I mean, that's a year from now. There'll be 2, and
yeah, okay, that's fair. But 2 is probably,
is that the minimum age of excitement to be on a train?
I don't remember anything before I was 3.
Yeah, 3. I think that's generally accepted to be sort of the cutoff.
I don't think I was excited about anything until I was about 24. So,
and then it stopped again at 25.
Well, but it was so intense those in between years.
Yeah, I mean, like the sleeper is nice. Particularly if you have a room to yourself, and it is kind of like if you can sleep, it's a nice way of. I mean, it's a really slow way to get up here.
Sure, but like versus. The plane, like you said, the planes have their own annoyance to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so there's something to be said for train travel. in
Yeah, I mean,
terms of just-
it's
yeah.
like you can do it overnight, so it effectively is
right, exactly. It's like, well,
doesn't take any time.
yeah, you got to sleep anyways, right?
But yeah, I think I would recommend it. I think
Okay.
they've redone some of the sleepers recently.
Could you potentially arrange for some sort of long-term contract on the railways so that there is no risk of striking when I want to take it?
I mean, like I feel that all the workers should be paid the what they want.
all right, put a bug in the ear of the government or whoever they're
Yeah, I mean, like the problem is I have less influence with the Westminster government. I have slightly more influence with the Scottish government. And by slightly, I mean none at
James,
all.
you're not in the House of Lords? I thought you were in the House of Lords.
Sadly, my peerage has not come through yet.
Oh.
I'm sure they give that to software developers.
Or PCalc for services to the numbers of.
I mean, like if I could. Yeah, I don't particularly want to know if PCalc was used in committing any like political crimes.
Yeah.
Light war crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've said before that there was copies of PCalc that were bought by the White Sands facility, which I believe is where the nuclear missiles are maintained.
Well, some. We have a lot.
Yeah, I mean, fair. Whatever old ones they have. All right.
I think we talked about this because I mentioned I had been to White Sands.
Yes.
Not that part. The other part. There's like a national park there, weirdly enough. That's the weirdness that is America.
That's America, yeah.
With some animals with unusual amounts of limbs, that kind of deal.
I was sworn to secrecy.
By the animals.
Yes, that was the thing that the animal
said. It's an amazing story that he can never tell.
It is great. I just did the Google's map of it, and it's fantastic because literally so first of all, if you look up Google Maps White Sands, you will find there is a gigantic White Sands missile range, and that area is grayed out in the image. But I don't know if I can actually show this or not. But
don't search anything that is going to like have this stream taken down.
No, but then in the middle of it is carved out the White Sands National Park, which has amusingly it has like a different color, so it's like actually a thing that you can look at, and is also white, of course, because that's what the sands look like, right?
Sands. Yes,
and they are. It is kind of incredible. It's one of the things that I liked about it the most was that it really is a impressive view, but it is surreal to think that it is carved out directly in the middle of. It's like if Area 51, there was just like a park right in the middle of it. Maybe there is. No, I haven't been there.
Well, I mean, I have no idea if they used copies of PCalc in building anything, but I hope not.
That's tricky.
But you don't get to choose who buys your software. And
well, I mean, you could have disabled it, but that probably would have been unsporting.
Well, I'm not going to be able to sell it in China anymore, which is an interesting thing because China's had this thing for a while that if you do games, you have to
and they found out about your about screen.
Well, kind of. You can't sell games in China that haven't been approved, basically. And to get your approval number, you need to have either a local office in China or you need to partner with some existing company to do this kind of thing. And one of the reasons that the about screen of PCalc moved out of PCalc into its own app was so that app would not sell in China, but PCalc could. And they are now extending this to all apps. So all apps will need to you need to have your own local office in China.
You decided not to open a China branch of your company, is what you're saying.
Not
you would need to hire a third employee.
Yes, is not particularly feasible for small companies, or probably for big companies. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happens. I think there's some cutoff point next August or next year anyway, and if you don't have your magic number, you get delisted from the
Did you try to make the
store.
argument that the real game is math?
Well, this is the thing. It's like now it's going to be everything. So I could just put the about screen back in Peacock.
That's a good point. There you go.
Yeah. So it's always fun when geopolitics
Interfere with
influence it.
calculators.
Yeah. You think I'm just making this little thing, and then
Everything's connected.
I don't know if any of my books are available in China. My guess is no.
well, my guess is yes, but probably not officially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think
Not
you
in
know
a way
what?
that you get paid.
Well, A, probably. B, I'm not sure anybody's interested enough to
License them. Yeah.
to or even to steal them to distribute in China.
Dan, this is a stupid question. Have any of your books been translated?
One, Caledonian Gambit has been translated once into Czech.
Into Czech? That seems
Yeah.
somewhat random.
Eh, Crazy about science fiction over there.
And have you been to any Czech science fiction conventions?
I have been to none. I do have copies. Hold on, I'm gonna grab a copy of my Czech book for the video stream.
Your
Check it out.
checkbook. Ah.
Here's my routing number and my account. No, I have a copy. This is the copy of the book in Czech.
Oh wait, it has a
Ah.
different cover.
It has different
That-
cover. It has
that
different
seems to be-
title.
I am surprised that they went through the trouble of commissioning or
They have
sourcing
to,
different
otherwise they
art.
have to buy the rights to the art because they don't own it.
And
Yeah,
it's probably cheaper for them to pay a
I've
Czech,
seen it a
Czech
lot.
science fiction illustrator than yeah. What is
I-
what is the title? I mean, is that just Caledonian?
It's a try.
in-
That is Kaledonsky. Kaledonsky. I don't speak Czech. I speak Russian,
Yeah.
which is probably close-ish, but Kaledonsky Gambit. Although then I just looked up and was like, I think there was a name in here that was not the name of a character. They must have translated a name or something. Fascinating to me. Yeah, it is a surreal experience to pick up something that you nominally wrote and realize I literally cannot understand a word of this. But supposedly I wrote it. So I thought that was kind of, I don't know,
I don't
that's
know,
always
that's
kind of delighted me.
So long as there isn't, like comments throughout it, like, well, the author was an idiot, but I have changed all his work.
Well, I have no way of knowing, right? Like, I really enjoy, for example, they had to, obviously they've got to translate my made up words.
Mhm.
And so there's one point, like, the Illyrican Empire is one of the main, factions. And they had
Do they
to
they don't just say Illyrican.
so it's weird. On one page, I have things where they're like names of companies, and they
Mhm.
just translate. They just wrote those pretty much like there's like Thane Systems, THNE, and they just write Thane Systems.
Mhm.
But over here they have Illyrishenskeo, like it's clearly the adjectival form of
Mhm.
Illyrican, but in a translate like in the appropriate inflected or whatever. And I think that's delightful. I really enjoy that. So as you can see by the popularity of this book and the fact that all of my subsequent books were not translated into Czech, it may be a while before my next translation comes through, alas.
Sorry.
Well,
I got paid.
I've certainly seen the different covers thing on lots of people's books, because I found like an actual interesting use for Instagram is I'm following like all the authors that I like, and they generally seem to promote like-minded authors, probably
Mm.
their friends. But it is very good to kind of like see this stuff. There's a friend of mine who's got a 2-book deal and from Glasgow, and she's been doing various events, and she's moderated a lot of panels recently. And seems to know all these people of these books that I read. So when Worldcon rolls round next year, I'm I'm hoping that, you know, I can sort of ingratiate myself into a space where it's like, this is my friend so and so. Yes, I have stalked you on social media for a long time because I really like audiobooks.
Don't open with that is my protest.
No, yes, and I shouldn't use the term stalked because I don't want to trivialize it, but it is the kind of like, it's the weird thing which I imagine people also see with us, in that like you see all these people, they all know each other, they hang out, they do things together.
The parasocial relationship.
Indeed.
Oh, parasocial relationships. I know all about those.
That's when you're a paratrooper, Tony.
Or a parrot.
Don't get attached.
Parrot social relationships.
The parrot social relationships, right? Exactly.
But yeah, it's weird because it's like you get this little insight that's like, oh, they've all met up, they've all done this thing, and I'm like, yes,
nobody
but
invited me.
And nobody invited me, but also nobody knows who I am.
That is often an impediment to being invited to things, I find.
It was quite funny when I was at the so-called secret event in London. You know, it was a bunch of developers and a bunch of Apple people, and most of the Apple people, I would say, knew who I was in some form or another. Not a single developer there had any idea who I was. It's like, I mean, that's probably the right way around. You know, you're known whatever to Apple.
Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad, right?
Well, yes. But yeah, then it was like, oh yes, I make this thing, and blank looks all around. It's like, okay, fine. Thank
Perhaps
you for
you've
this.
Heard of my important software, Pacalc?
And the answer
Does
is,
anyone ever pronounce it Pacalc with you? Because I find that this thing really, they've only ever read it and they're just like, yeah, it's
well,
clearly Pacalc.
people say PC Calc,
Ooh,
like inventing an extra C.
that's just
I was going to be
adding
like,
extra
there's
letter.
not
That's
a C I've been overlooking this whole time, is there?
No, and it's like it also is not for the PC. So
Yeah,
Ironically,
it's ironic. Yeah,
did you ever think about calling it MacCalc?
yeah.
look, I came up with a dumb name for it 31 years ago.
Yeah,
Hold
you're
on.
stuck with it.
This is a relevant question that I guess I've never asked. Does the P stand for something?
So it
Is it
does.
decimal?
More importantly, does it stand for panda?
Well,
that
it
would be
does
my first
now.
question.
I mean, like
Okay.
I
nowadays,
assumed
probably
it
yes.
stood for personal calc.
It originally stood for programmer because
Oh.
I needed, the reason that I wrote it in the first place was the Mac calculator didn't do all the kind of hex
Right, it was
and
just super
binary stuff,
Basic.
and I needed that for my like actual university work, so that's why I wrote it. And so it was programmer, but you know, it's like it doesn't really mean anything anymore. So Panda, I think, is the correct
Unofficial.
answer.
Would you ever rename it Panda Calc?
I feel that I've got a brand, and like, you know, renaming
You don't
your
wanna just
very
give up your
popular
brand?
renaming your very popular brand to say a single letter or something just
Yeah,
seems like a
That's
poor
not gonna-
business decision.
Xcalc? You don't want to do Xcalc?
I mean, no, I don't want to be
That's probably
associated.
correct. That's probably correct.
But I'll put a blue bird on the icon because
No one else is using it.
yeah. Yeah. I just gonna, there's no point renaming anything, you know. Bad decisions were made a long time ago, but
And we
The
bought
answer is
in.
there's no point to anything.
yeah. If the Nintendo Wii can catch on, then you know, Peacock can.
That's true. That's true. Could be a lot worse.
Has anybody played Baldur's Gate 3?
I have not. I
seen
keep
someone
reading
else
about
play
it.
it.
I keep thinking about it.
Yeah, I bought the Mac version because like it
And you
launched-
told me you have purchased, but it's locked, right?
Yeah, so I bought it because it said, you know, it was coming out on whatever, August the 8th, and I downloaded it, fired it up, and it said early access edition because apparently they'd slipped the date on the Mac version, or they'd brought forward the date on the PC version or something. But anyway, I could not play it. I could play the early access one, which was not safe compatible with the final release.
Mm.
Oh, that's not
so-
worth it.
So that's like, well, I guess I'm not playing that for a while then.
I have not played any of the earlier ones. I know they are considered kind of classics and were very popular in their time. I am very curious about it because of D&D. Dan is in an adventure I've been running that started in Baldur's Gate, so that's exciting. I don't know if my Mac would. I guess I should figure out if my Mac would run it, because if I can play it on the Mac, I sure would play it. And
I'm
it
gonna
is
say probably not.
Probably not.
well, is my guess.
yeah.
I mean, like the
The PC system requirements when it first came out were
Are
pretty high. I don't
And
know what the
so-
Mac requirements are. I
And then
should
it's
look that up.
it's what it's most people are playing it on PlayStation 5 is
well,
where
they're
it's
not
playing it
yet
right now.
because it's not out.
not
It's
out.
only out
No,
on
it's-
PC.
It's only out on PC. Okay.
It's coming out on PlayStation 5, I think, the same day as the
Early-
Mac.
I want to say
like the
September
6th?
5th or something.
Fifth
yeah,
or sixth, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question that will
But
affect
it's
a lot
not
of
cross.
decisions.
It's not cross-platform.
Dan, are you going to get it for something?
I have an interest. I don't know. It's been a long time since I played a
Yeah.
D&D game like this. The last one was probably Neverwinter Nights 2, which was many, many years ago, which I played online with some friends, and I enjoyed. I think I enjoyed it more because it was a multiplayer experience. Just because I liked the idea of like basically teaming up with my friends and playing the multiplayer aspect. But there's also, I guess there's a single player and multiplayer campaigns, and they're not the same. That was one of the great things about
Interesting.
Neverwinter Nights was
Mm.
like you played it and like your friends would join and they would basically replace your NPCs that were otherwise in your party. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this, how this works.
I think this does just let you sort of drop into somebody's existing campaign and play along. But
And
because I know there's something about, because the game has, you know, Mass Effect or whatever style romancing of your various party members, and you can, I think there's an option where you can turn off your friends seeing any, shall we say, intimate content that may occur.
I guess I've only read a little bit about it, but I was surprised how much D&D it was versus just being a video game with D&D stuff.
But
like,
that was
like,
that was the same was true definitely of Neverwinter Nights. Like that was, it was like, I want to say that was 3rd or 3.5.
Yeah.
But it was like, you know, it was like rolling dice and stuff behind the scenes, you know, generate
I
clouds
think
of numbers, that kind of stuff.
I think this, you actually see the dice roll. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they bought in. I mean, D&D is popular.
Yeah.
But the thing that I heard about it that interested me was that it was like, while Neverwinter Nights and all that basically used the D&D rules as a sort of combat engine, this also lets you do things like that are not combat related, like
deception checks and
persuasion
and that
kind of like being highly charismatic and that sort of thing. And I like that because I really like that in things like some of the Fallout games where you could basically spec your character in a way that you
didn't have to fight your way through everything.
Yeah, like you could like get past the final boss by talking to them in I think it was New
Tony,
Vegas.
Here's your spec requirements. You can tell me if your machine meets this. Is this a good idea? I don't know. Okay.
About this Mac.
Requires a 64-bit processor and operating system.
You're probably good.
Yeah.
Mac OS 10.15.6.
Check.
2.6 gigahertz quad core Intel Core i7.
I have a 3.7 gigahertz 6-core Intel Core i5. The key thing was it sounded great until you got to i7, huh?
Well, i7 is it's a better chip generation.
You're telling me that i7 is better than i5?
Weirdly enough.
What a weird system.
8 gigabytes of RAM.
I do have that.
This is the part where I raise an eyebrow a little bit. Graphics, AMD Radeon 460 4 GB. I don't. Do they still ship? They don't ship Macs with Radeons now because the Apple Silicon
No.
ones are all integrated graphics.
I have a Radeon Pro 580X, 8 GB.
That sounds pretty good. I
I
don't
mean,
know anything about graphics
wait,
cards.
Is this the minimum requirements?
These are the
or
minimum requirements. The recommended requirements are higher. But what's funny about this, James, you'll enjoy this, is that in both of these cases, they give all these specs, and then at the very bottom, they have M1 chip requirements as like a separate thing.
Uh-huh.
And it just lists the computers. Like M1 chip requirements are MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, or Mac Mini with Apple M1 chip and 16 gigabytes of RAM, SSD recommended. And it's like, well, okay, all of them have SSDs. Most of them have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Not all of them, but a lot of
No,
them.
not all.
A lot of them. But also, we're on to an entirely new chip generation at this point already.
Yes,
which
where are
they seem
the
to have been ignored like entirely.
where are the M2 system requirements?
Yep, not good enough. Maybe that's the whole Core i5, Core i7. I don't know. I assume it runs fine on an M2 or better, but I don't know what the graphics situation is.
I think like the previous games that Larian did, I think worked pretty well.
They did like the revamps of like older Baldur's Gate games too, didn't they? Or was that
No, they
someone
didn't
else?
do those, but they
That
had
was Beamdog, I think.
there was the Divinity Original Sin
right.
games 1 and 2, which I kickstarted many years ago, and I played both of those. From what I've heard, that the performance is pretty good on a Mac, which is why I was gonna buy it for the Mac. But
I think the weird thing for me is I'm playing it on a Mac. I have a trackpad and I feel weird playing that game with a track. Like it's one of the few places where I actually feel like I might want a mouse instead.
apparently it works quite well with a controller. If you pair a controller,
I do have a controller.
It switches the whole UI into what the PlayStation 5 UI
nice.
would be.
Does it have to be a PS5 controller? I do have
No,
one,
I don't think so.
I think I've got a Xbox One controller up here. That's my computer controller that I never use.
I did buy yesterday an Xbox game for the first time in 100 years, but I have not played it yet because I've been busy. But Stray finally came out for Xbox.
I
It's
need
fun.
to finish that game.
I started you have it for PlayStation.
I have it on PS5 and I played I probably half to 2/3 of the way through, but it came out
It looked great.
my
So
kid
I was like,
I was
yeah.
playing it when my kid was born, and then I just never got back to it.
Jeez, horrible.
And then I got
timing,
distracted
child.
with other games.
Yeah.
So
I did. I purchased Pikmin. What number is it?
4.
4. I picked Pikmin 4. Played a lot of Pikmin 4. Basically, have completely done everything you can do in Pikmin 4. If you like Pikmin games, it's like that. I don't know. I really enjoy Pikmin as a Nintendo property. I think a disproportionate amount. I think Pikmin is my favorite Nintendo property. Which I don't know if that's, some Mario and Zelda people are going to show up at my door and punch me, but
I'm not going to punch you. I'm just.
But you're just like, what? Explain yourself. Yeah. What?
No, I like Pikmin too. Although I didn't like the kind of time limit stuff. The kind of you have to complete this game in whatever.
Well, I'll tell you, Pikmin 4 doesn't have that. I forget which Pikmins had that. I think 1 and 2 possibly, and I feel like 2 was pretty tough around that. I will say that, if anything, the one challenge of Pikmin 4 or one knock against Pikmin 4, because it has no time limit. I mean, it's kind of easy, right?
Honestly, I like easy games.
It's I would say it's not even so much. I mean, it's not easy. It is an aggressively chill game, right? Where you just hang out with your Pikmin and you pick up little stuff and you solve little puzzles and you gather more Pikmin and go to different places, and the environments are amazingly beautiful in Pikmin 4. So yeah,
there's a copy sitting here, but like I did like 165 hours of Zelda of Tears of the Kingdom, and now my wife is also and she's, I think, now surpassed my 165 hours.
Oh yeah, my wife has played that game and I have played none of it.
It is an exceptionally good game.
Yeah, I liked the first one a lot, and I didn't even finish it, but I liked it.
It's got the whole kind of like building things aspect to it. So you can build You can build vehicles is one
Yes,
thing,
I've seen.
Yeah.
but then you
tracks
can
of that.
also build basically death machines, and that is it was an interesting way of dealing with bosses. Is like I would just subcontract my battle to this little robot.
It's a very engineering solution.
Well, I kind of like it at that, you know, I don't know if anybody played other than me the Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts,
I don't
which was
think I
the
did ever.
third Banjo-Kazooie game, but it had the same kind of like building contraptions aspect to it, which was fun. Anyway, Zelda very good, but until Ganon has been defeated, Pikmin is not getting loaded. And then I have to play, you know, 100 hours of Baldur's Gate 3 and then 100 hours of Starfield.
Wow,
And
you really things are you've got all the future vision plan for Peacock Industries is all slotted out.
well,
there.
you know, the fact that this is my busiest work time
Yep.
possible, and I need to get stuff done in about 4 to 5 weeks. I do not think I will be playing a great deal of any of these things for a while.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's my issue is mainly that, like, yeah, it gets busy, and then there's like I'm interested in playing Baldur's Gate 3. There's also, I don't think I have a machine that runs it, but Starfield comes out
Mhm.
in
Yes.
September, which looked really cool, and then the new Spider-Man game comes out in October, which I will definitely play.
Yeah.
And now I'm just annoyed that there's so many things.
I
Well-
I really thought, oh, I'm unemployed. I'll finally catch up on games. That did not happen. What the heck? So,
Yeah, I think at some point I will play these games. I mean, my eyes have been mildly better, which hasn't I'm, you know, discovered that I can actually still play video games, which is quite nice, at least for now. And so there's a certain amount of me that's like, better play these games while I
Yeah.
can. But
Yeah.
yeah, Apple controls us, or at least compels us.
Well, no, don't damn you. Yeah.
Dan, Ahsoka comes back soon, so we're gonna have to resume
Yeah,
our
Complicated Professional will have to kick off.
podcast.
Awkwardly, as people from this stream will enjoy, I am on vacation next week, not this coming week, but the week after when it premieres. So we will have to figure out how we're watching it in a place that has poor connectivity.
Oh no.
So I suggested
it'll
to my
wait.
wife, like, we'll swing by, you know, someplace with Wi-Fi and download it
download
onto
it.
the iPad and then watch it that night when we like after the kid goes to bed. Which will be fine. It's not that big a deal.
It can wait too. It's
Like the fans demand it, Tony.
especially I believe it's gonna be a 2-episode premiere.
It's 2
so-
episodes, yeah.
yeah.
So we have our work cut out for us because if we don't cover those first 2 episodes, we get in the hole.
Yeah, that's true. We don't want that. So
And my wife kept having Kat kept having grand plans that like we discussed covering Ahsoka episodes of animation, and she's like, "Oh, we got to do that still." I was like, "There is literally no time left for us to do that. The show starts in like a week, and we are going away. So
Yeah.
unless we squeeze it in this weekend, spoiler did not happen.
yeah,
We're not
I'm,
doing it.
I'm familiar with how things work over there.
Yeah, I was planning, you know, I'm going to rewatch Rebels before Ahsoka comes. I have watched 1 episode of Rebels.
I got bad news for you about how long it takes her to show up. More than 1 episode.
Yeah, no, I mean, this show does seem to be like direct.
Yeah, it does basically
Continuation
seem like
of-
the next season of Rebels, but in
Well,
live
Dave
action.
Filoni. I mean,
Yeah,
Rebels was. I remember when they basically said Clone Wars was done and announced
Yeah.
Rebels, and then they ended Rebels. Because I think I was there when they announced at Star Wars Celebration when they announced that
Mhm.
Rebels was concluding, and I think this is just Dave Filoni spinning his little parallel Star Wars
Yeah.
universe essentially, and continuing on from his animation to his live action, but just telling the same through line of a story. So, and then he gets a movie at some point, which will let him wrap that all up, and then I guess I don't know, he'll retire or
yeah. No,
start
we'll
over.
just-
I don't know.
We'll go to something else. They need more Star Wars forever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to get I think it's going to be a while before we get any more Star Wars beyond.
Well, it's gonna be a while for
More
Yeah,
anything.
because like while the studios seem to have no interest whatsoever in paying people or anything.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive how long they're letting this drag on. That's
Well, I mean, I think impressive in the sense of the studios or in sense of the writers and
I guess the
actors?
studios, because I
the
feel
bad
like
people, James.
the bad
We're all
people.
clear on who they are.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like inevitably you're gonna. I mean, I don't know. It seems like what's being asked for is not that much, and
But it's like, please don't replace me with a computer and pay
yeah,
me a bit.
it
They're
just
like, we would
seems-
like the option. We're not going to replace you with
Yeah.
a computer, but we like the option to replace you with the computer down the road.
Yes, we would just like to 3D scan you for no reason.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it is someone up there at the top level of this has to be doing this
They must
math.
have-
Maybe
some
they don't have
equation where it's
Peacock
like,
and they're
this
not
is-
very good at it.
yeah.
But like one would think at a certain point, the downside of losing all the money that they have lost right now outweighs the money that you need to pay these people.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think like I've seen people say, they're saving so much money at the moment because they're not making anything.
Right. And that's great. That will work great right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, but like
there comes a time where that seesaw goes in the other direction.
they seem to be people who look at the like, oh, this month we've done brilliantly. Let's
Yeah.
continue this strategy.
You know how many people have streamed 8 seasons of Suits? Let me tell you, we're doing great. That show's not
Yes.
even on the air anymore.
Yeah, Suits is propping up the world right now, I guess.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it what I'm saying is enjoy your Star Wars. Well,
I'm just, I'm set. I have finished Strange New Worlds, which has an excellent thing, and it's like, oh, and now I have to wait an indeterminate amount. For
yes,
more.
it's sometime between
Yeah.
18 months to
Yeah,
whatever.
certainly a year, possibly a lot more than a year. So
well, they haven't
Yeah.
filmed it, so
No.
Right. I'm much less written it, maybe.
I think
knows?
no, I
I
think
think
they've
I believe it has been written.
I think they've written, or at least have drafts of it.
Right. But nobody's working on that.
Nobody's working
So
on it. Nope.
No.
Yeah,
that could take a while.
it certainly could.
Yeah, not to mention all the other stuff. I mean, we're running up against that over at Biff too,
With the
because
Marvel stuff.
the Marvel stuff.
Oh,
is
Jan,
gonna
just
dry
do
up pretty
just do a rewatch of Secret Invasion.
quick. Somebody suggested we cover Agents of Shield stuff too that we hadn't covered in the past, and honestly, we may get to that. I don't know.
I just want to
Yeah.
show. I'm just going to highlight this thing I just built, which I think is very. So I started one of the main things I started the session with was finally got to put in the drawbridge. It looks like it's not. It's gonna have it's got kind of a counterweight, so it wants to be open, and then the chains have to pull it up.
Oh, that's
Used
fun.
to kind of and then this little guy I just built over here is there's like a ladder, which
Oh,
I
is
believe
it portcullis
also
or
it looks like it's a portcullis and a ladder, which is
Oh.
interesting. So
no?
it's a
You know what?
portcullis
No
for
one's
here.
made that efficient use of space before. I think that's
I don't know. I like the moving parts in this castle. Just
Uh,
so just an aside. Yeah. I mean, in some ways I'm relieved to say catch up on TV for a bit, but yeah, at some point people will be sad that there's there's not more TV.
I think mainly
So,
just in the world of those of us who rely on said
podcast.
TV to
Yeah.
generate our podcast
Dan,
slash.
you and Guy are just gonna have to talk about your feelings. So
Nobody wants to hear that. Much
finally,
less
the
pay
Guy
for
English
it.
political corner.
I walked down once and I said something about Fahrenheit, and he just slapped me in the face.
Oh no.
um, yes, in our recent D&D that we played with Tiff, Arment played a character called Guy English.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know if Guy English knows about that. I don't know what my legal obligations are here in terms of do I need to who do I file a piece of paperwork with that things are happening. But yes, in the bootleg listeners can find it in the Total Party Kill Party Crashers adventure, which is an adventure written by David Floor, creator of A Night in Save Off Manor. He wrote a heist adventure. Dan, I might run that for you sometime if you
You
all
like a
need
good heist.
you do like a good heist. This is I guess fancy dinner party heist, or fancy dinner party is the cover for the heist. And in the grand tradition of joke characters that Tiff has created, her new one is named Guy English. And I think in the important tradition of joke characters, that it's a hilarious good time for about an hour and a half, and then the person who created the joke character regrets it.
Yep.
Yep, definitely.
That's story checks out.
See also Cool Cat, Jason's Tabaxi rogue that he created to grief us, or Bard, I guess. Yeah. But then he's like, wait a minute, this character is no good, and I'm stuck with them. Yep. That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's why I don't build joke characters. I build very serious characters.
Yeah. Richard backstory.
Classic.
Yeah.
That character is no longer in active use, but it
Yeah.
remains my favorite names character of any
Mhm.
campaign I've been in. I only build characters with gimmicks like Kenku.
Yep. Kenku.
Yeah. It's fun. No, I like to. We circle back around the D&D talk.
Yeah, as we do.
I mean, like, given that there are multiple people here who are playing and actively interested in D&D,
Yeah.
it's not. And I think,
And we're building a castle. I would say we.
yeah,
very
there's
broadly.
a wizard. I mean, we are in a support role. We're
Yeah,
the
we're-
bards of this.
Yeah,
party.
we're casting buffs on Tony to help him build that castle faster.
I will say, Dan, thank you for being here. I think when I only have to carry on 1/3 of the conversation, I build a lot faster. So
You're welcome.
you're providing an extremely valuable service.
Basically occupying me. So, like,
That's right.
if neither of us was present, it would actually be the most efficient.
I guess, yeah,
But
if I was just here
quiet,
by myself,
perhaps.
but I think I would probably get bored pretty quickly. So
You
but, I
would
mean,
just sit
potentially.
and build your Lego. I mean,
I don't
That's right. Quietly in the corner.
Quietly.
You know.
I mean, I used to do that and I just didn't do it on the internet and it was fine. So
But now every
no.
part of your life must be live streamed. So
that is,
yeah, if we
I
all play
guess-
Baldur's Gate, then we have to
do we
live stream that,
it?
right?
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I genuinely do think if we all ended up with a copy, we should
Mm.
play that
I'd
because I
probably-
think that would be
I'd
fun.
probably do that.
I would do
Is
that.
this going to get me into buying Baldur's Gate and streaming? Or we have to put this on Twitch like weirdos?
Yeah,
Like weirdos.
I don't know how I
like
feel
the
about that.
youth.
Do we
The
have to be
youths.
weirdos? Is that required?
I
I'm
mean,
just being needlessly pejorative, I guess.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
but yes, we are. I mean, I would do that.
Now I'm googling what Baldur's Gate multiplayer is like.
I mean, I think it is proper as you imagine it to be. And I think if you
Multiplayer
actually,
co-op.
I think if you play on Twitch specifically, Twitch integrates into the game and
Oh,
people can look at your character sheets and
no.
do stuff.
Don't look at my character sheets.
Yeah, that's personal.
Private.
Um,
Sorry, I got to the point where it's like they're talking about setting up a campaign in Baldur's Gate, and they said, choose LAN or direct connection. I was like, oh my god, it's the 1990s all
Oh
over
boy,
again.
UDP,
I don't need this.
Finally.
Oh my god, a lobby? What am I doing here?
Yeah. Dan, lobbies are an important part of online gaming. That's where people say racist things to you.
Oh dear God.
Oh God, I think I had
Do you
like
have a flashback to Halo 3? Is that what
well,
happened?
it was like a timeline of flashbacks that was like it was Halo 3 and then it kept going backward and then it got to StarCraft
got
and
to
it
some
ended.
Quake.
And it was just like,
yeah.
whoa, I'm back. Whew.
No,
I
that
did
is
consider
the
trying to
blast.
build my actual D&D characters in this game.
What did you conclude?
Well, I mean, like, I concluded I can't do it yet because I need to wait. But it seems like you could. We have a question from
Oh.
the chat.
Oh,
Jason Smith says, is there any thought of doing an episode of Strahd that is a post-mortem of the adventure? It seems like Tony has had to make a ton of creative decisions.
have I? No. We've certainly talked about there will be, I think, I don't know, can we announce things, Dan? Is that how that works? Certainly
not
there
in
will
charge.
be some kind of like discussion of what happens in Barovia afterwards, where I'm encouraging the players to kind of like, do some, is it world building? Is it world closing out? I don't know what we call it.
World destroying.
But especially in the Curse of Strahd adventure, that is a setting where, like, it's not just like there's other adventures where it's like, I think a bad thing might happen and you need to prevent that from happening. The Curse of Strahd setting, which I really love. I mean, I've run that adventure multiple times now, and it's a big adventure because I think it's so great. Is, you know, and for people not familiar with it, Curse of Strahd is set in the D&D world of Ravenloft, which is like this sealed off kind of spooky Eastern European Frankenstein movie town, and things are bad there, and they are ruled by Strahd von Zarovich, who's a vampire lord. And you know, the idea is when you defeat him, that'll be, you know, a big change for the world and the setting. And I've encouraged the players to, you know, tell us at the end of the adventure, like, what does that mean? What does that look like? We'll probably, I don't know, you know, we have not done, I'm trying to think, have we I don't know how much we've done on the streams or on the episodes about postmortems of adventures. I'm never sure how much people care about that or not,
I think
right?
the answer is always more than you think.
More than I
Yeah.
think, more than one thinks, or more than I think, Dan.
Specifically you,
Okay.
but also the rest of
Yeah,
us possibly.
because I never know if people are like, do you want to know about all the stuff that we didn't do?
Didn't you once do an episode that was people like shopping and that was like super popular? I don't know. That's
We did do that was one of our very first member specials, which was kind of started as a joke. Was like, what if we record an episode where you go shopping, and that was intended to only be maybe like 20 minutes, but because of the players, this was a Dragonforge special. The shopping segment was extensive, and then the thing that was supposed to be the adventure was, guess what, they get pickpocketed and they have to go down in the sewer and they have to fight a dragon. But mainly it was a shop. In terms of total time, it was primarily a shopping episode. So what I think people will want to listen to, or what players will want to do, continues to be wrong. But yeah, maybe we'll do something, and I can talk about stuff. You know, I will say Curse of Strahd is certainly one of the biggest, longest adventures I've run. It's also not one that has, like, you know, the Dragonforge adventure was very long, but it had these kind of chunks to it. Whereas the Curse of Strahd is kind of more of a sandboxy, sprawling adventure. And there are definitely decisions I made in terms of like, you're not doing that. So I don't want to spoil Dan for anything right now, but there were, you know, just based on my reading of the module, and I try to read lots of reviews of modules. You know, there were things where it's like, I don't think they'll like that. And you know, the players also have agency in terms of, for example, there is I don't know, this is not a spoiler. Dan, you were there, you made choices. There was like a side hook with dealing with some disputes between a clan of werewolves, right? And the players were like, no, we don't want to do that. And so that didn't happen. You know, and I didn't feel compelled to like throw that back in their faces and be like, you have to do that because it's in the adventure as written. It's like, well, if you don't want to do that, we're not going to do that. There's still other stuff, but yeah, maybe we'll do something. I don't know. We have to figure out, because you know, it's possible, for example, Tuesday could be the last Curse of Strahd adventure. And yeah, I don't know what happens after that. We don't have a plan yet in terms of this is the next adventure we'll play, or will the Dog and Pony crew come back for a different adventure? Will we have the same players but different characters? Almost anything could happen.
Jason says, we've been invested in these characters for quite a while.
Oh no,
Dragonforge,
I bad news, some of them might die.
Dragonforge ending was sad.
Yeah, there is at some point. I do have, and I ran it for Dan for another adventure. There, Dan has a character that made it all the way up to level 20 effectively, and I ran a level 20 adventure for him where they had to save the world. I've definitely thought about that could be a Dragonforge adventure where they only got to around level 5 in Dragonforge, but then we might flash forward to the characters as kind of over the hill retired heroes and have them play a level 20 adventure. I will tell you that scheduling is the greatest monster there for that group of players.
Nobody likes to schedule.
Nobody.
things.
Well, yeah. So
I have noticed as we climb the ranks of the Candlekeep stuff, because I think this is the first time I had a level 9 character. It's like things are getting difficult. It's like, you know, the cheery, happy, fun times of like we'll murder some whatever creatures.
There's a lot to manage. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, we actually have to be good at this game.
Yeah.
Nobody told me that.
Well, and that was with our you played an in-person Candlekeep adventure, right? When we were in Portland. The adventure I had picked out ahead of time was like a level 1 wacky adventure with like where the big bad of that adventure is a mean bear. And somebody was like, oh, level 1's no fun. And so it's like, fine, you don't like that? Level 9, eat it. So
Okay.
And
so
we ate
now I understand why things went the way they went. Okay.
no, that was I will say I think people had a challenging time adapting to the analog environment without but I don't know. You didn't you guys burn some spell slots on each other? So
I mean, I cannot confirm or deny that if I was my usual
if you were you.
if I was me.
Mm.
The thing is, it's like I seem to have a reputation because somebody else said they mentioned some adventure and said it's had a lot of opportunities for James type stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah, that you do have a reputation, James.
But now I feel I have to maintain the reputation.
No, you do not. You need to fix the reputation. We've talked about this.
Rehabilitate, I think is the word you're looking for.
Yeah.
Embrace.
It's a different thing.
You sort of go through and then yeah.
Dan, you're a player in the Curse of Strahd adventure. Do you have hopes and dreams for
I
Citadel
don't know.
or not Citadel, Crucible or that group?
Yeah,
Or
so it's only been how many years and you can't remember my character's name? That's fine.
that
won't take it
Onatar
personally.
guy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he will send
Windwalker.
I don't know. He's a wanderer.
Yeah.
And I think I can't decide if he will leave or stay. I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting question. It may depend how that fight shakes out.
Yeah,
if he
I
even
was-
survives.
you
Sorry,
know-
they. I use the wrong
Yeah.
pronoun. I have mispronounced my own
Of
character.
your own character. Yeah.
As always.
I will when I ran that level 20 adventure for that in-person group, and I was like, okay, imagine this takes place years later and your characters have retired, and they're really like the model was in my head was like a band that had split up and was going to be called back together for a reunion tour where they need to save the world. And it was like, so you should probably not like be talking to each other. And basically all the players like rejected that as a hook. They're like, no, we're best friends forever. And I was like, all right, fine. But you're invested in those characters, I guess.
Letting
So
yourself get bullied into those things.
it's there's so many of you. I'm outnumbered. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like even some of like Nyasa is a character I've run for something like 3 or 4 years or something at this point. And it's like, yeah, I am invested in these characters.
Yeah, I should take better care of them.
Yes, I should learn the things that they can do. Yes, well, mistakes were made.
I don't
Mistakes
know.
were
We will
indeed made.
definitely thank you for asking that question. I think that was Jason Smith. We'll chat about it with our group. I don't think we're going to just pivot to a now we just do Sports Corner for an hour a week. That's an unlikely, I think, development for us. So
But not impossible.
not impossible, but unlikely, but not impossible.
Go shopping. That seems to be what the people want.
Consumerism.
Yes.
I'm almost done with bag 21 on this castle. I'm installing my little
Bag
I don't know
21.
what this is. Little tiled roof over this little window.
Whereas I am, meanwhile, James, you'll love this. I'm debugging some code.
All these people coming for my job.
Yeah, that's right.
pl-
I
please-
am a
please-
computer,
please come
and I'm
for it.
coming for your coming for your job. My this is my hobby project of recent months, weeks, I don't know, has been rewriting the code on the incomparable.com that detects when streams are live and thus lets people see those streams. Also notifies them that streams are live, which has involved learning some Python or expanding my knowledge of Python and dealing with Google APIs. And let me tell you what I've learned about Google APIs.
Yeah.
Not good.
I like
They're bad.
I like you getting the appreciation for the work that we do.
I was a web developer for a brief moment in time. And then I left that profession to become a writer, a job that pays much worse and is still hard.
But spiritually, you feel
I think there is some there is some similarities. There are some elements of it that cross over. I do miss whenever I'm writing that I don't have a debugger. That's what I want. I want a thing that like tells me what the plot points are and when like where this doesn't make sense. I can just compile it. It's like, oh, there's an error because you forgot to define
this
this plot
character's
point back
dead.
in chapter 3 or whatever. I made that joke for I made a dialogue box, actually a macOS dialogue box years ago for a talk I did at Singleton. And it was the error like you Chekhov's gun not defined in Act 1 or whatever. It's like, that's what I need. I need the reminder that you didn't set this up correctly. But nope, people let you write books with giant plot holes in them.
Isn't that editors?
No problem.
Isn't that what they do?
Do they help with that?
Sometimes not. Really depends on your editor.
This is where you say that your editors are all what?
No, my current editors are very good and they're excellent. I've had editors who are not that good. My favorite story about editing, which I think maybe I've told before, but I don't remember, is a opening chapter for my first book in which I had written that the pilot in space adjusted their attitude thrusters. This is a thing. Attitude, it controls your sort of your attitude, your back and forth, your up and down. Yeah, they changed it to altitude, and I was like, they're in space. There is literally no such thing as altitude because you're not above anything. I understand that you didn't get this, but rather than changing it and assuming you knew what it was supposed to be, perhaps ask.
Yes.
Tony's finished his building.
I finished my building. I added basically another floor to the kind of battlements here. They had me add some detail. I like my nice little like vines growing up over this archway. I've got a drawbridge that's not quite done, but almost done. There's a tree continuing to grow up the side of this castle. They had me add to, I guess, basically these kind of fortifications here. I like my little ladder portcullis-y guy there. Feeling good about this castle. It's a lovely model. So it's a little, kind of a weird pause here and a weird stage at the end of Bag 21, where like clearly this is going to connect to something. This is the like chains that control the drawbridge, but they're just hanging here right now. So I can raise and lower. Yeah, it's like and it continues to snap back together, which I just think is lovely, that it can either be a kind of closed castle model or a kind of diorama in this style. So yeah, continues to be a lovely model and a nice build. But yeah, I built some more castle.
So. Have you built any Lego that isn't this castle in the last year?
Ever?
I think I definitely got I was like on I'm not allowed to buy any Lego until I finish this castle, but I did buy like in Target for like $8 Boba Fett's little spaceship, which is, a minifig plus not very many parts. I don't think so. I was trying to think of if there's any other Lego that I built in the last year. Probably I've been focused on this, which I guess has been good because it has dramatically cut down on the amount of Legos that have come into my house, which is important because the amount of storage for Lego is has been exceeded, and we may be entering a one in, one out kind of situation.
I'm in a similar situation of that for books as well, and Lego and everything.
I've been doing my big thing I told myself for like years that I would do if I ever lost my job, which I then did, of eBaying stuff, which I'm not making a ton of money, but I am clearing a lot of space. It was particularly felt rewarding when I sold all my old video games, and I recently sold all my D&D 4th edition stuff, which was like, I remember the day all of the auctions ended around the same time, and I carried about 40 pounds of books to the post office, and I was like, I'm glad that I do not have this 40 pounds of stuff in my life anymore. In terms of, this is stuff for the very old version of a role-playing game I don't play anymore. So I have been clearing some space out that way, but I am now at the stage of my clear out where I am doing collectible card game stuff, which it's like, I'm doing a couple things where I'm trying to post lots of cards, but it's a lot of like, here is one card, here is 10 cards that I'm trying to sell for $1, which does not have the same like getting rid of like pounds of stuff at a time. I guess may be more profitable, but the greatest part of it was just like, now this stuff is not in my house anymore, which theoretically could clear up space for future Legos. I don't think I will ship any, get rid of any of my Legos. I think they continue to provide me with some level of joy, even if they're old. So yeah,
I pre-ordered the Ghost that is coming. Like
I didn't even know there was a new version of the Ghost from
because
Star
that
Wars
was
Rebels.
that was a ship that I wanted for a long time, and I didn't buy it at the time. And the
I do
price-
have the
I have the little
it's
one.
not,
I
you
have the
can't
Phantom.
quite- I don't know if you can see it over behind my shoulder, but that's the Ghost in that white cube. There is I have the Ghost, and I have 2 versions of the Phantom, Dan,
I have
because
the
there
second
were
one.
I have the first. You know what? The first one probably came with the Ghost, and then I bought the second one when they. The second one
one's on
comes
my
with.
shelf back
It comes
there.
with Admiral Thrawn, which was, or maybe
Yes,
it's not.
that was
Admiral
why
at
I
the
got
time.
it, because
Yeah.
I did. get
Yes, the
Thrawn.
very compelling. This set is okay, but what minifigs does it come with? That's how they get you. So yeah,
Well, given that I bought a whole set for a Darksaber.
but yeah.
um,
See,
We've all made mistakes.
Legos makes fools of us all. So
Yes.
cool. Well, we built some Legos. We chatted about things. I think we have we can conclude this Lego business. There's 20 people watching right now, which is lovely. Thank you for hanging out with us and listening to
Remember
us
to go to
chat.
give Tony money to fun.
You can if you want, but no
You should.
pressure. And you know,
James and I will
we
come
did.
for you otherwise. It's fine.
Oh, you know, you
We
can
take a
find
cut
many
as
of us
enforcers.
on other podcasts and streams in the Incomparable and Incomparable adjacent places. So Dan and I will be streaming D&D on Tuesday.
We will be
James and I are streaming
D&D on
D&D next Saturday. Will Jan and James and Tony converge in the same place at sometime? Unknown.
When Baldur's Gate 3 comes out. We just established this.
But
Yes.
yeah. But I'm gonna sign us off YouTube. So thank you for listening or watching or whatever you did. Goodbye, nerds.